whereby they will be compensated at a rate of Kenya shillings 20 per kilogram of hazardous waste collected. Other players, such as aggregators and transporters, will be compensated at a rate of 7.5 Kenya shillings and 15 Kenya shillings, respectively. In this regard, waste collection will become a revenue stream for the value chain actors and enhance reduce pollution. NEMA has directed all PROs to enter into similar agreements with value chain actors to incentivize waste collection and management. Additionally, NEMA partnered with the Kenya National Cleaner Production Center in financial year 2023-2024 to inspect and analyze wastewaters from 260 facilities within the Nairobi River Basin, leading to identification and mitigation of key industrial pollution sources. In 2025-2026, in-plant assessments were conducted in 26 facilities. 5 industries halted pollution by installing new effluent treatment plants, and 10 non-functional ETPs were revived. Where inspections reveal non-compliance, enforcement actions available to NEMA include, number 1, improvement orders under Section 117(3)(g) of MCA, directing cessation of environmentally harmful activities and requiring remedial measures within specified timeline. Number 2, restoration orders under Section 108(1) of MCA, requiring restoration of the environment to its pre-pollution state. And number 3, closure orders under Section 117(3)(f) of MCA, directing immediate closure of non-compliant manufacturing or industrial establishment. Resumption of operation is permissible only with written approval from the Director General. 2 facilities this year, 2025-2026, were issued closure orders following inspections. And finally, arrest and prosecution before a court of law under Section 117(3)(h) of MCA as a last resort. In financial year 2024-2025, 5 individuals were arrested and prosecuted for environmental offenses related to the illegal discharge of effluents. The second one was on coordination framework among the ministry, NEMA, county government, public health authorities, and other regulators to monitor toxic exposure hotspots and ensure timely remediation and public protection. Mr. Speaker, sir, environmental pollution is most effectively addressed through a multi-agency approach. The ministry, through NEMA, has spearheaded collaboration among relevant agencies and county governments through the following mechanisms. The environmental and social impact assessment process, Section 58 of MCA, requires that ESIA process take precedence over any other regulatory process and be completed before any project commences. As part of this process, copies of ESIA reports are shared with relevant lead agencies for technical input before a record of decision is made. This multi-agency collaboration enables early identification of negative impacts on public health and the environment, with appropriate remedial conditions embedded in ESIA licenses, which cover the entire project life cycle, from pre-construction to decommissioning. The ESIA process, therefore, serves as an early warning system that safeguards public health while fostering interagency collaboration. Secondly, joint enforcement action. NEMA conducts joint enforcement operations with relevant ministries, lead agencies, and county governments targeting sector-specific high-risk facilities. For instance, NEMA has undertaken joint inspection with the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, targeting non-compliant facilities in the petroleum sector, and has partnered with the Nairobi City County Government in mapping and cracking down on noise pollution hotspots. Capacity building through the basic enforcement course. NEMA trains officers from other lead agencies and county governments through the basic enforcement course, designed to equip officers with skills to undertake effective enforcement within their respective mandates. Officers completing the BEC are eligible for gazettement, extending decentralized enforcement capacity across the country. NEMA Incident Management System NEMA operates an incident management system through which the public can report environmental incidents nationwide. The authority maintains a database of contact persons from all lead agencies across the country. Upon receipt and categorization of an incident, NEMA forwards it to the relevant lead agencies for prompt action, playing a key coordination role in averting further pollution. In financial year 2025-2026, 12 incidences involving releases, spills, leaks, fires, or explosions with toxic or hazardous chemicals, including ammonia, chloryl, volatile organic compounds, pesticides, and industrial solvents, were responded to. These incidents remain under active monitoring, pending full restoration of affected areas. National or sector-based assessment of environmental health risk from lead, heavy metals, hazardous waste, open burning, and industrial contamination, and the findings. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry, through NEMA, undertook a comprehensive, nationally coordinated assessment of environmental health risk under the Africa Environmental Health and Pollution Management Program, implemented between 2020 and 2025, with support from the World Bank and the Global Environmental Facility. The program specifically targeted pollution risks associated with e-waste, hazardous chemicals, and unintentional persistent organic pollutants, which are closely linked to heavy metals, open burning, and industrial contamination pathways. Key outputs of the program: a national e-waste inventory covering all 47 counties, and a countrywide solid waste situation analysis, including identification and mapping of pollution hotspots. The second output, a national database on toxic substances and e-waste generation, providing empirical evidence on the scale and distribution of hazardous materials nationwide. Thirdly, UPOPs, hotspot mapping, identifying areas with elevated risks of toxic emissions associated with open burning of waste, informal recycling, and poorly controlled disposal sites. And fourth, development and deployment of monitoring, screening, and evaluation tools for environmental inspectors, with over 100 inspectors trained to detect and track releases of hazardous pollutants. The key findings from these assessments are as follows. Open burning of mixed waste and e-waste is a significant source of toxic emissions, including UPOPs and heavy metals, posing significant serious risk to air quality and public health, particularly in urban centers where waste segregation is limited and the informal sector dominates the recycling value chain. Secondly, informal e-waste management practices, including manual dismantling and crude material recovery techniques, expose workers and nearby communities to hazardous substances such as lead, mercury, and other heavy materials, with risk especially pronounced in unregulated environments lacking protective measures and pollution control technologies. Thirdly, stakeholder mapping and value chain analysis identified systemic gaps in hazardous waste management, including weak collection systems, limited formal recycling infrastructure, and inadequate awareness among key actors, contributing directly to environmental contamination and human exposure. And fourthly, the assessment highlighted limitations in analytical infrastructure, particularly laboratory capacity for comprehensive analysis of air and soil contamination, underscoring the need for continued investment in environmental monitoring system. These findings have since informed key policies and regulatory actions, including the gazettement of the Waste Management Regulation 2024, the Extended Producer Responsibility Regulation 2024, and the Framework for Management of Toxic and Hazardous Substances. Policy and enforcement reforms, drawing on lessons from countries with stronger hazardous waste and pollution control regimes, being pursued to strengthen environmental health protection in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, the government through the Ministry and NEMA is implementing a suite of policy and enforcement reforms informed by international best practices from jurisdictions with advanced hazardous waste and pollution control system and multilateral environmental agreements, including the Basel, Stockholm, and Minamata conventions. In terms of strengthened legal framework, the ministry has strengthened the legal framework through operationalization of the Sustainable Waste Management Act and the gazettement of the 2024 Waste Management and Extended Producer Responsibility Regulations. These reforms adopt the polluter pays principle and a life cycle management approach requiring producers to take full responsibility for hazardous and post-consumer waste consistent with best practices in the European Union. Additionally, regulations on the management of toxic and hazardous chemicals and materials have been developed and are being implemented, including stricter controls on generation, transport, storage, and disposal. In risk-based and intelligent